With the World Championship very much at stake, the grande finale of the 2021 season is nearing. This weekend the Mexican Grand Prix is back on the calendar, and this has proven to be a stronghold for the title challengers at Red Bull Honda. So what are the key issues to watch, and why should this be the perfect opportunity for Verstappen to solidify his lead in the World Championship? Let's dive in. The first season of Sergio Perez at Red Bull has proven to be as difficult as could be expected. He showed sparks of his speed in the first half of the season, once even qualifying in front of Verstappen in Imola. But most of the time he was struggling, until the Turkish Grand Prix, where he ended third and was the perfect wingman to Verstappen as he held off Hamilton in a truly great display of close combat driving. That weekend proved a turning point, and in the following Grand Prix at Austin he continued his great form. This was no coincidence. In the first few months he drove with the setup Max also used, but halfway the season he started to find his own way to cope with the tricky handling of the Red Bull. Christian Horner recently said, "I think we're managing to find a setup that works for him and managing to optimize the car around his driving style a little bit more." His record on his home ground is decent but not great. Though he scored points in every race he finished here, he never finished higher than 7th. But now he shows great form, and he will be on fire to show his country that he belongs in that second Red Bull seat. The Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez presents one very specific challenge to the teams. Its altitude. The track is located at 2,240 meters above sea level, which is seriously affecting the cooling of the brakes in the engines. This means especially the turbos will have to work harder, affecting reliability as well. Although the altitude is obviously the same for everyone, one team has had more problems to cope with it than any other in the last few years. Mercedes has had serious issues cooling their engines in the last years they drove here. Although it must be noted that this was back in 2019, so it's entirely possible they already solved this issue. The thinner air also reduces the levels of aerodynamic drag the cars experience, meaning that higher downforce setups can be used with less impact on straight line speed, and mechanical grip is even more important, a key strength of the Red Bull design. Even without taking the high altitude into account, the Mercedes engine has given the team serious headaches. Bottas alone has already used 6 engines this season, and the trouble doesn't stop there. Rumors have started to spread that Lewis Hamilton might also have to take another engine penalty before the end of the season because of, well, whatever's wrong with those power units. And what's more alarming is there is legitimate reason to assume that Mercedes doesn't really know what the problem actually is. After the US Grand Prix, team boss Toto Wolff was quoted saying, "We're really trying to get on top of the problems, but we haven't understood them fully yet." This again leaves a lot of room for discussion, and that appears to be exactly what's happening at Mercedes as well. As Toto Wolff also acknowledged, "I think we are a step closer now, so it's not always that we are literally easy with having these engines." The high altitude of the Mexico track might amplify these issues, forcing Mercedes to use more conservative engine settings. The circuit in Mexico is a great addition to the Formula 1 calendar and is quite a classic circuit. It staged its first Grand Prix in 1959, and the basic layout has stayed largely the same. This means it has quite a number of slow and medium speed corners, typically Red Bull strongholds. At 1.2 kilometers the main straight is quite long, but it is quickly followed by tight corners. Especially the Peraltada Stadium section is a quick follow-up of slow corners that Max Verstappen nailed excellently in the last years. Having won here back-to-back in 2017 and 2018, Max Verstappen knows how to tackle this track. And he comes here on a winning streak after the thriller in Texas. In Austin he was arguably in a slower car at the end of the race, but he managed to hold back Hamilton. Despite the heat of the Texas sun and the heat put him in by the raging 7-time world champion behind him, Max Verstappen kept his head cool like a real winner and brought it all home like a true champ. He feels at home at Red Bull and in the car which is made to measure for his driving style, and at the moment is finally fast enough to beat the Mercedes. Although they're still well ahead in the Constructors' Championship, Mercedes has been losing ground to Red Bull in the recent weeks, and there's no reason to assume they've suddenly found a golden ticket. The recent worries about the reliability of the engines is also linked to the growing pressure by Red Bull Honda. Having performed in a comfort zone for quite some time, it is clear that the Mercedes crew has had to work harder than the previous years to stay ahead of their rivals. But with a disappointing race in Austin and a circuit layout that doesn't really fit their concept, Mercedes will have to overcompensate to find extra speed here. And exactly that hasn't been their stronghold in the last few years. The Mercedes car and team structure are built to lead and not to follow. Whenever anticipation was needed, they haven't shown their best results. And in Mexico, not expecting to lead, Mercedes will have to anticipate to get the best possible results. So what do you think? Will Mercedes strike back, or will it be a Honda Red Bull run over? Please leave your comments, like, and of course subscribe, and see you next time.